But you were aware of the provenance of that trope about black people being apes?
I'm aware that in the past, yes, there were some issues around that.
So do you think it's all right for the President of the United States, who is also president of nearly 50 million black Americans, to be putting out material like that?
I don't think it should be. It should have been put out.
It should have been put out.
And
a fascinating video was just uploaded where a British journalist humiliates a Trump supporter, making her gape like a fish on amphetamines as he forces her to do the impossible. Justify Trump, being Trump, and doing Trump things. Pretzels are delicious, but only when they're made of wheat, not when it's a deluded MAGA supporter tying themselves in knots to explain why it's okay for Trump to be a racist piece of shit who appears in the Epstein files more times than I appear in the Google search results for Melania Trump for some reason. Trust me, this video is a masterclass in holding people accountable, especially when he ambushes her at the end. You won't believe her face. Holding people accountable is something we're passionate about here at Raw America, so please support our mission by subscribing to our channel. All right, let's get into the video. It is fantastic. Let's go.
Nora Lee Knotson's a Republican commentator and founder of Knotson Advisors. She joins us now in the studio. Nora, thanks so much for coming in this
Thank you for having me.
Could you just explain? I mean, there are people, and I've spoken to quite a few this week, who've asked me exactly this question. These Epstein files are shaking our politics, and they're a big story in America, but it doesn't seem that there are so many people paying a political price.
Well, if we think about the way Trump...
I mean, there are people paying political prices, just mostly the people so far who want them released for some reason.
Ran his campaign in 2024, and when he was asked about the Epstein files, he said he was pro releasing the files. And we know Trump is not somebody that's a pure man. He's never run on that sort of platform. And Trump himself is
Did these people hear themselves? The discourse around this has gotten truly insane, like terrifyingly medieval. He never ran as an honest or good person. It's like nobody runs as an honest or good person. Usually the assumption is hopefully that you aspire to be one. But now the through line is, oh yeah, well no, he was open about being a piece of shit from the start, really.
Anti-establishment, anti-the elite. So this whole exposure of the Epstein files and the lengths that it goes to for the people involved in high power, whether it's in banking, private equity, entertainment world, or within politics itself, you know, people that were high up in Clinton's administration being involved. This plays into Trump's whole narrative of the establishment and trying to get to the rot of it all.
But Trump's in the files repeatedly.
Yeah, but let's be clear that
he's in the files, but Clinton? Hello, Clinton, boogeyman.
there are separate issues here. There are people who had a relationship with Epstein.
This is why I should never be allowed to do interviews, other than not being a real journalist. But because I literally couldn't have the po face of this guy. I'd be there like, oh, really? Oh, is that so? Oh, is that fucking so?
Epstein, nothing that was criminal. And then there are people who were involved in passing sensitive information so he could trade off of it. And there were people involved in sexual misconduct.
But Trump's relationship with Epstein does rather imply that he's part of that establishment that he decries.
Actually, if you look at Trump's relationship...
Actually, he was there as a canary. He was there as a selfless whistleblower. He went undercover through great personal risk to himself. He had to do all sorts of horrible things, and he had to go undercover and completely pretend to be into it and do unspeakable stuff. But it was all for the good of the public.
It ended in about 2004, and Epstein...
But he's part of that world.
He is not part of the sexual misconduct. So there are a lot of people who are part
of the elite world of wealth and power. And
no, but it's the rot that's within a lot of these institutions. And
oh, it's the rot, right? The rot, like people making billions of dollars from the presidency. You know, the rot like him pardoning people and then then giving him a piece of wealth. The rot like him getting a $100 million, multiple $100 million jet from the Saudi family. I mean, this is insane. These people have no standards. They have no qualms. They would like, the one interesting thing about this is I do think British media, again, the UK, not a perfect place. Politics over there also on a downward trajectory, but arguably started from a slightly more sane ledge and is going down a bit slower. Still on the same path, absolutely. But at least, for the most part, British journalists will call you out on your shit. They will call you out for lying. They will call you out for bullshitting, for propaganda. Much less of a thing in America. There's that famous incident where Ben Shapiro, the heroic, seminal, high-educated-minded, man, fully adult man, Vincent adult man, Ben Shapiro adult man, went on Andrew Neil's show in the UK. I think he's a BBC commentator. He's very conservative, old school conservative, as in like we're more about money rather than rounding people up into camps, and basically did the audacious, insane, outrageous thing of calling Shapiro out on his bullshit repeatedly over and over again until Ben Shapiro, literally not used to being treated, with anything other than kiddie gloves and a little pat on the head and a carton of milk, rage quit the show and called Andrew Neil a leftist, in which he laughed at his face and said, if you knew anything about me, as in if you'd done any of your research, as in if you weren't a joke, laughable person and, actually deserved the job you have, if you'd even looked into me for a second, you'd know that that's not true and I'm a strong conservative. He literally rage quit. She's having that exact same thing where you can see on her face her being like, I'm not being allowed to lie? But then what do I have? She's like rifling through her notes. Like, it's all lies. What?
No, but it's the rot that's within a lot of these institutions. And Trump's platform was tried to restore the public trust in institutions.
Although Trump is saying he wants to move on. He thinks everybody should move on from the Epstein files.
Move on. It's sorted now. We looked at these billions of files. We found thousands of names. We blacked out most of the big ones. So let's move on. It's done.
I don't think everybody's going to move on because I think what's really crucial here is the public trust. And it's what are our principles and values and when will there be justice for the victims? And if it took so long for this to come to light, I ask, how many other Epsteins are there out there controlling our politicians and people in high power?
Well, it's interesting, though, you mentioned the victims. I mean, when asked this week by CNN's Caitlin Collins what the president had to say to the survivors and victims of Jeffrey Epstein's horrific abuse, Donald Trump responded by asking her why she doesn't smile more and attacked her for her ratings. What do you think that says about the president's attitude to sexual violence?
I think that...
You literally see her looking down like, oh my God, he's gone off script. He's asking questions about things that are indefensible.
That was a tactless response. But I think what you're seeing within America on both Republican side and Democratic side is people want answers. We know Trump's style is not palatable for a lot of people. And I agree with you. It's a very tactless response.
I mean, it's not just tactless, is it? It's profoundly offensive. If you were listening to, if you were one of those victims watching that, you'd be looking at him and going, my president, when asked explicitly what he has to say to me, started to talk about why a woman didn't smile more and why her ratings weren't better.
Well, clearly he didn't want to.
This guy is fucking great. I'm going to start watching more of his stuff. He reminds me of Louis Theroux. Have you ever seen that documentarian from the UK? He has this sort of like, Louis Theroux is a way more intense version, but he has this like sort of like beautiful, innocent childishness that's like, but it fits him. It doesn't seem like too hammy. And Louis Theroux is a more extreme version. This guy is a lot more subtle, but it's sort of like, he's like, why would he say that? But not in a sort of like outrageous, daring way. It's literally very honestly like, okay, I'm just here. I'm a human being. Let's pretend I don't know what's going on. Why would he say that? Literally make them stop beating around the bush. Like, here is the bush. Beat it. Be inside the bush.
To discuss that there. As we know in the U.S., a lot plays out in the press. And he actually approved the Transparency Act for all the files to be released.
If our Prime Minister did that, he'd be out that day because it would be so grossly offensive.
And I understand that. But I think what's even more concerning is that our prime minister here, knowing that...
She's like, I understand that the sky is blue here, but over in America, the sky is red, white, and blue. Next.
And I understand that. But I think what's even more concerning is that our prime minister here, knowing that there was a relationship between Mandelson and Epstein after he was convicted of...
That's more concerning. Wait, that's more concerning than Trump having a relationship over many years with Jeffrey Epstein.
Trump was not involved in any sexual misconduct that we know of with...
They're fucking pre-programmed bleep bloop. She's like, wait, what's worse? Trump being in the Epstein files, the leader of America being in the Epstein files, or the leader of the UK here, knowing somebody who was in the Epstein files. And the guy's like, well, but surely what would be worse would be the one who was in the Epstein files. She's like, okay, but he wasn't convicted. It's like, just keep changing the subject.
Nor was Keir Starmer, nor was Peter Mandelson, as far as we know.
Peter Mandelson was involved in defying the Secrecy Act in giving insider information. I used to work on the trading floor. I'd go straight to jail if I traded on inside information. That's a crime.
Well, we should be careful because at the moment...
No, I know. He's not accused of anything. But if that happened, that raises huge concerns about not only the...
This is the Republican MO. She's like, yeah, well, this theoretical guy who's about in the UK, if he did what he did, and he probably did, that's outrageous. This theoretical Trump, he didn't do what he did. No, he didn't do what he did. He didn't do what he did. No, not at all. But the guy in the UK who did do what he did, ooh.
Judgment of Keir Starmer, but other people around.
But you're saying it's worse that Keir Starmer appointed a guy who had a relationship with Epstein than it is for Donald Trump, who had a relationship with Epstein for years and years.
He appointed...
We can't seriously be saying that Keir Starmer is in the worst position than Donald Trump over this short...
That's not what I'm saying. I think that's what you're saying. What I'm saying is I understand that the way the UK responds to
pedophiles
scandal is very different from the way the US
we do respond.
Responds to scandal.
Yeah, well, we do respond. But your party, the Republican Party, has decided to basically let Donald Trump get away with whatever he wants.
That's not true. If you've heard Marjorie Taylor Greene,
she's gone. She's resigned.
Yeah, she's been pushing. There have been a lot of Republicans pushing for the transparency.
And he threatened her with a primary in response to it.
Yeah, but Trump actually signed the
I wonder if she was like expecting this guy to know about US politics. It sounds like she lives in the UK too, so maybe, I don't know, maybe she's not completely clueless about people being educated and stuff, but she's a bit like, oh wait, no, he knows about this stuff. Oh, fuck.
Transparency Act.
Like, trying to be like, no, there's accountability in the Republican Party because of Marjorie Taylor Greene, the person who was effectively forced out of the Republican Party for speaking up about Epstein it's not just like disingenuous, it's deluded, it's insane. It's like Republicans are okay with their politicians literally flicking them up, fisting them, and then punching them in the face with their dirty fucking fist, and then patting them on the head being like, good boy. And because they don't know anything, they're like, oh, yeah, good boy, I'm a good boy. Oh.
And all the files are out there, and there's going to be...
He didn't want to. He was forced to.
Yeah, but it's out there. It's out there. And I think what matters more is our leaders and the principles and having justice.
I know you guys have seen him in Betweeners, but his vibe is so like Will from In-Betweeners. Oh, no, wait, no. I think Simon from In-Betweeners, he's like, that didn't happen. I think both Simon and Neil encompass that sort of British, like, just being sort of like sarcastic, but just sort of just politely, just on the edge of sarcasm, being like, I know you're talking shit, by the way.
Didn't want to. He was forced to.
Yeah, but it's out there. It's out there. And I think what matters more is our leaders and the principles and having justice for the victims, and then asking the question, actually, who is Epstein working for?
Do you think that...
Nobody's asking that question. And how many more Epsteins are there out there? And I think that's on a lot of people's minds.
Do you think Donald Trump cares?
She's like, what if there's a man out there named Epstein? It's like, well, how about we focus on Mr. Epstein, number one, before we get onto that theoretical once again.
About these victims?
I think Donald Trump does care. I think the way he expresses himself at times is unfortunate.
It wasn't the only controversial thing he said this week, of course, because he posted a video to millions of followers ending with a clip, Donald Trump, set to The Lion Sleeps Tonight, with the Obamas depicted as dancing apes. Would you condemn that video as racist?
I know that Joe Biden was in there as an ape as well, and I think...
Yes, but he's white.
I think, look, it's terrible. It's not, we shouldn't be posting things like that. But as he said, it wasn't him.
You see her brain being like, it's terrible. And then she's like, no, wait, I shouldn't say terrible. She's like, I'm going to condone this as lightly as possible. It's regrettable that this happened. It is a mishap. It is a great misfortune.
He's got a big group that's posting, and we know he's got a quirky sense of humor.
Quirky, very invoking Jim Crow stereotypes that have been used to justify slavery.
Very quirky. That
decades and decades.
I don't think it was.
How is he not throttling her? Quirky. We live in hell, truly, when people feel okay coming on TV with their fake smiles and saying, racism is just quirky. I'm so quirky. I think other people of other races are inferior.
Intended, and I think it's unfortunate that it came out. So I would agree with you. It's unfortunate that came out.
Well, I wasn't asking whether it was unfortunate. I was asking whether you thought it was racist.
I don't think the implication was meant to be racist. If I'm honest, it was meant to just make a joke. But I would never post a video like that. And I think most people wouldn't be posting videos like that. So it's unfortunate that his team posted that video.
But you were aware of the provenance of that trope about black people being apes?
I'm aware that in the past, yes, there were some issues around that.
Well, you could say that again. It was used by slave traders and segregationists to dehumanize black people and justify lynchings. So do you think it's all right for the President of the United States, who is also president of nearly 50 million black Americans, to be putting out material like that?
I don't think it should be. It should have been put out, and I don't think the intent was that.
Why hasn't he apologized
You
for it?
can see her brain fighting her mouth. It's like somewhere in her there is a little pit of shame. Like, what am I doing with my life? Is this really worth it for my small salary? She's like, I don't think it was okay. I don't approve, but I don't think he meant it badly.
That I can't answer for Donald Trump. I know he did say, had he seen it, he wouldn't have liked it either. So that's his underway of apologizing, his behind the doorway of apologizing. But we know Trump's not good at apologizing.
Well, the president's press
It's
secretary.
unbelievable how the foundation of her arguments, which are terrible, by the way, can literally be, well, he's a terrible person. He's a narcissist. He doesn't apologize. He says awful things. He does horrible things. He's tactless. He's a terrible person. He won't apologize. But here's why that's okay. Fuck me. This is absolutely insane. These people have lost their fucking minds if they ever had one in the first place.
She actually initially dismissed it as fake outrage. That's very...
So the idea, the very notion that Trump didn't post that himself with his 1-inch stiffy going wow, 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 is, ludicrous.
Apologizing, his behind the doorway of apologizing. But we know Trump's not good at apologizing.
Well, the president's press secretary actually initially dismissed it as fake outrage. That's very easy for her to say, isn't it, as a white woman?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that should have never been published, and I think it's unfortunate it did. I think what's more important here right now are the real issues in the world. And if we go back to, Epstein and dealing with
Racism not a real issue. He's the president of the United States. He's
I
the
don't
president
think
of the United States.
I'm not saying
trope.
racism is not an issue. I don't think that was intended. What I'm saying, and I think if you would just hear me out, is that was not intended to be racist.
But it was racist, whether what his intention or otherwise.
Well, as we know, certain people take things different ways, and it's unfortunate that came out and it's been taken off, as far as I know.
Why wouldn't he apologize? I mean, it would mean something.
She's not even sure. This is how little research she's done. She's not even sure if he's taken it down. She doesn't even know. It would have been obvious by this point.
So much to those people, black Americans, who find it gross that their president, because he's their president, that he wouldn't just say sorry. It would mean nothing to him, but it would mean everything to them.
I agree. I think it would be great if he could say something like he backpedaled on Afghanistan as well. I think those remarks were terrible as well. But he's slow, unfortunately, to acknowledge those mistakes.
I mean, if children do something wrong, we tell them to apologize because it's the right thing to do. And I'm just so struck that whenever you speak to people who defend the president, they just say, well, he doesn't apologize. Is that okay? We just say, oh, the guy's so unpardonably arrogant that even when he posts videos that depict black people as apes, which is perhaps the worst stereotype and trope that could ever exist, because, as I say, it was literally used to justify slavery for 200 years because people suggested that they weren't really human.
But also Biden was in there as an ape.
Biden was white. But of course it doesn't matter. Like, if you depicted me as an ape, I'm white, so it's not. I'm not part of that trope. You're not part of that trope.
Right. But what I'm trying to say is,
trying to explain racism to Republicans is exhausting because they'll just take a second grade attitude on it and be like,
I don't think the intention was that. It's unfortunate.
It's like if someone attacked you or used a trope as used.
Like their attitude towards it is like you being like, yeah, we should tax billionaires more. You're like, oh, but you think we should tax people with no money less? Make it make sense. It's like, well, this thing, although it sounds similar, is actually different from that thing, you fucking imbecile.
Being a woman, it wouldn't mean the same thing to me because I'm a man. Like, it only works when specific people are targeted for what they're targeted for.
I understand what you're saying. And again, as I'm saying, because it wasn't intended to be racist and it came out, and for many people it will be considered racist, and I think it's unfortunate.
Well, I'll tell you what, Laura, let's just
give an apology.
I agree. Well,
let's move on to bigger issues.
For the benefit of the listeners who won't have heard it or seen it, let's just play the clip so they can hear it. So you can see that there. Would you say that looks intentionally racist?
They're not showing it, so I'll bring it up. See, we live in hell. 2026, I'm Googling racist clip Trump tweeted, and I'm going to have to specify because there's so many. So this is the image he's forcing her to look at and say that's not racist. And she's like Like, you can literally see her being like, I am not paid enough for this shit. What am I doing in my fucking life? This guy is a masterclass in making people confront their bullshit. She'd get away with this on, well, Fox, obviously. ABC, obviously. CNN, even, you know, most American networks, no problem. They would just, you know, the first time she said a lie, they'd move on to the next question. Here, she's having to actually defend it, and she is terrified.
You know, without seeing what's coming next.
Well, that's it.
It's a cartoon.
Without seeing what's coming next. What, as if it's going to say, JK Bammy Bams, you know we're both great mates. I think all races are equal. Love you, Donny boy. Like, what do you mean without seeing what's coming next?
And then you're going to say, what are the cartoons? People make cartoons. What are they trying to make a cartoon
They're playing
about?
The Lion Sleeps Tonight. And they're depicting the only black first couple of the United States as apes. And is the line, can we possibly say that that isn't intentionally racist?
I agree. It's not a great image, and whoever worked for him should be fired that put that video out.
It's a bit more than not great, is it?
No, it's not a great image, and there's a spectrum between not a great image and the racism, and it's probably more somewhere over here. It's racism adjacent. It's not racist.
No, it's not great. I agree with you, but I'm saying I don't believe the intent was the intent that you're stating. But I think whoever put that video out should be fired.
Trump.
Just finally,
Trump should be fired then.
the president is continuing, obviously, with. How do you think the president will respond to the fact that the Epstein files have become such a big issue over here? I mean, we've obviously saw what happened with Peter Mandelson. He knew Mandelson. How do you think he'll react to all of this?
I think, look, as we know, Keir Starmer's, been a failure.
She's like, how can I say he won't give a single shit because he doesn't give a fuck about anything but himself in a way that sounds good?
As a leader, and this is probably just the needle that will break the camel's back. I think Trump, as we know, can deal with any sort of controversy. I think the relationship between the U.S. and the UK will remain strong, regardless of what happens.
Regardless of which pedo's in charge.
But I think he's thinking about bigger things right now.
Nora Lee Knotson there, Republican commentator, founder as well of Knotson Advisors. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio this morning. We're really grateful for your time.
He's like, Authority Knotson there, humiliating herself on camera for 10 minutes. Thank you so much for making a fucking ass of yourself in public. And she's like, Lewis Goodall, you're a fucking champion. Yeah, that was incredible journalism. If the US, again, UK, not perfect, issues, and it's going on the same path, but slowly. And there's every society collapses eventually. There's a reason why some societies collapse slower than others, because this is the sort of journalism you get in some societies. Actually challenging people, actually calling them out on their shit, actually making them justify the unjustifiable. So they have to look at the audience and be like, I think you're a fucking moron and I don't care about you. Somebody suggested this video to me in the comments of another video I made. I can't remember who it was, but thank you very much. It was a great recommendation, and always feel free to pop recommendations in the comments. Can't do all of them, I guess I should say. But keep your comments and suggestions coming. Like I said, fantastic video. That man's a legend. I aspire to be as good and real of a journalist as him one day. It'll only take about 40 years. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. I'm British Chris, and this is Raw America.